you've listened to this podcast before and you've listened to all of the students that I've had on, 99% of them don't have an IT background. They don't have experience in cyber or anything like that. They're complete career changes. All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cyber Revolution podcast. Thanks for joining us yet again. I'm Adam Hewitt, the CEO of Cyber Revolution. Today, I'm joined by the one and only Scott Auber. Scotty is one of our senior career consultants here. He helps people at the start of their journey transitioning into cybersecurity from the get-go. Scotty, how are you?
Yeah, doing well, mate. It's really good to be on the podcast as well.
Great to have you on. Usually speaking to people who have listened to the podcast.
Yeah, usually pushing the people through to get on the podcast. So now it's good to be on here as well.
Great to have you on, mate. So Scott's got a wealth of knowledge within the cybersecurity space that we're going to extract from him today. It's going to be a short, sharp one, so listen up. I wanted to get Scott on because he speaks to probably more people that want to get into cybersecurity than anyone in Australia. He knows the do's and the don'ts. He knows the things that we look for, the things that placement partners look for, the things that they don't like as well. This is an episode for anyone that is really keen to get insider tricks and tips about how to transition into cyber. This is the podcast for you. Okay, so I also want to quickly give a bit of an overview for our new listeners of the podcast, who Cyber Revolution are, and more importantly, who this podcast is for, just so you know you're not wasting your time listening. Cyber Revolution, we are Australia's only dedicated cybersecurity training and placement institute. We specialize in finding people their first job in cybersecurity. So if that's not something that sounds interesting, then potentially hit skip on this podcast. Over the years, we've helped so many people get into the industry, but still we are bombarded with questions day in, day out. Scott would attest to this. And as opposed to answering all of those questions that we get emailed, Instagram DMs, calls, this is the podcast to educate people on a lot of the questions that we get at scale. More importantly, educate people on how to transition into cybersecurity. So if that sounds interesting, keep listening, guys. All right, Scott, let's get into it. So I mentioned at the start, you are the guy that speaks to a lot of people at the ground level that want to get in, all right? For you, what are some of the top traits or qualities that you see and that you look for in one of our student candidates before we bring them into our program?
So the biggest quality, I think it's like, it might be a bit obvious as well, right? But like the biggest quality from what we've seen from like, students coming in, like successful students as well, right? Like is the commitment to change, right? Like obviously changing career is a huge step. Okay. So it is a big move. Now, there's always going to be a bit of like uncertainty and things that come with that. But from what we see from the qualities of the people that are really willing to like lean into that discomfort and lean into that change, right? They're the ones that obviously like put themselves into the position, and they're the ones that being in the industry, right? Like in cybersecurity, and we can attest to this as well, Adam, like it is an industry that is also always changing, right? Now, this is another reason as to why like career changes specifically like do really well, is because the big action of changing career into an industry that can provide you with what you're looking for from a career, but allowing that change to continue to like flow on throughout your career as well. I think that's a massive quality from like the students that we've had coming through that have been really, really successful and had a long career within cyber.
Yeah, that's it. Lean into that change and lean into that fear, because it's uncomfortable, right? Changing careers, a lot of people have done it, but so is the cybersecurity environment. You're going to be put in uncomfortable environments, and you're going to need to be able to have that type of character to go, hey, I've got the ability to, not only identify that I've got some challenges in my current career, but then also make those decisive decisions and actually make the change to jump into cybersecurity. So decisiveness is one, and leading into change. Any others?
And just like, once again, just commitment. Right? Like obviously, yeah, leaning into discomfort through change, like being decisive as well, but like being able to take action and follow through with it, right? Like going into things with 2 feet in as opposed to 1 foot in, 1 foot out, right? Because like there's always going to be hardships, there's always going to be difficulties that come up with any change, especially changing a career, but going into things like with both feet in, okay? Because if you give yourself that, ability to like fail or to go into things half-heartedly, like you will always have, you'll give yourself that allowance to be unsuccessful, right? So another quality is, just people like really like just commitment and really like determination to the actual actions that they choose to do, which once again, it sounds obvious, right? But it's quite rare. It's quite rare when someone makes a big decision like that and goes like, this is it. Like, I'm going to make this work.
That's a really good point, because this is a lifelong career that people are looking for. And so you need to be fully invested into it. And so that's why we take a bit of a longer process rather than just signing up everyone and anyone. We need to make sure that they speak to multiple people, have a longer conversation with yourself as well, to really make sure that this is a good fit for you. We kind of flip traditional education on its head. Usually what you do is like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm going to go to university, study this degree, figure it out over the next 4 years, and then really start looking to apply for jobs and understand the industry once you've got your certificate, once you've got your degree. For us, it's the complete opposite. We spend so much time, this is why I started this podcast, on educating people about the industry first before they decide to take the leap into cybersecurity, which is a huge part of Scott's job, is having those conversations, making sure it's a right fit for the student, but also making sure it's a right fit for us as well, and our placement partners. Okay, great. So that's qualities in a potential student. What about some of the traits that disqualify somebody for our program and for our placement partners?
Well, I think the reverse of that, right? So like, I guess shying away from like change and I guess adaptation and growth as well. Like people that might be like, I guess kind of just happy with like the average, right? Staying in the comfort zone. That's a pretty big one. Like if we were to take someone and put them into a position, like we do with our employability partners, like if we were to put someone in a position where they shy away from things like that, they're not necessarily that, like it's not a benefit, right? It's not a benefit for them. It's not a benefit for the employability partners that we place them with, because they're not necessarily willing to step up, like take on the added responsibility that comes with growth and with progression. So that's probably like one of the biggest one as well. And that's once again why we have like, I guess the kind of like, I guess the vetting process on the front end, because we really want to make sure that we get the people through that are like committed to change, but also like ready to take on the responsibility and, everything that comes with, pretty exponential growth and progression.
Definitely. And because you're right, if, they're not all in, it really doesn't work for anyone. It doesn't work for the student. It doesn't work for us and supporting them and training them. If they're half in, half out, they don't show up for their student sessions. And then it obviously doesn't work for our placement partners. They hire somebody who's potentially, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this, is in it for some fast money. They look at it and go, yep, I can earn really good money as a cybersecurity professional. That's the only reason I want to get into it.
Yep.
And get into a cybersecurity job. They're earning upwards of 6 figures. And then after 6 months, they're going to piece it out of there because they've actually not done the work on the front end and realized this is the actual industry and the work they're going to be doing day in, day out. That's one aspect to it, is the financial aspect and the gain there. What are some of the motivators you see in people as to why they want a career change at the moment?
Yeah, well, this is something that I always say to like a lot of people that I speak to coming through, right? Like a career needs to provide you with like two things, okay? Like it needs to provide you, yes, with like the level of income and I guess like the lifestyle that you want to live, but it also needs to provide you with like the fulfillment that you actually get from work, right? Because if you think about it, we're all spending almost, what is it, a third to almost a half of our life like in a career, right, in a role. So just like what you were saying then, like if people are coming into it like just completely money driven, like that is a short-term game, right? You're going to get short-term results from that. Now, like people that like, coming in with the, like that being a byproduct, right? Because a byproduct of growth progression is an income to match, right? Because we get paid for the value that we create for people. But like, so back to your question, like, yeah, I guess in terms of like the like fulfillment side as well, right? Like, I speak to a lot of people that are in a career, whether it's, 5 years or 10 years or even 15 years, right? And like, they're in a role that isn't giving them that sense of fulfillment, right? Now, what comes with that, like that's not just within your role. It's not within your career. That's something that comes home with you. You know what I mean? So people are like miserable in their roles and they go home and that translates and overflows to their daily life. Now, you've probably heard the saying, like, better is the devil you know, right? There's a reason why people stay in their comfort zones is because it is comfortable, regardless of how uncomfortable it is, right? But like, if a career isn't providing you with that sense of fulfillment, like it's just a short-term game. And like, by actually enjoying the work that you're doing, like it makes the growth and progression like so much easier because it just comes naturally. You're showing up each day and you're actually loving what you're doing. Like same with me, same with you, right? Like we love the role that we do. That's why I'm here. Like I have the best job ever. I'm able to speak to people from all walks of life and be able to help them get from, potentially a career that isn't providing them with either of those opportunities, and helping, putting them, provide that things make sense, into a role that provides them with both. Yeah, I think like just really knowing that like moving into, I guess, an industry, into a career that can give you both of those things, like that's the most successful, or that's the most important thing as well. That's what I definitely look for people when speaking to them.
Yeah, that's a huge part of it. We get lots of people from all walks of life, different industries, and they are unfulfilled. And knowing that you are, in an industry now that's actually genuinely helping people and securing businesses, securing data. We've had a lot of us have been exposed to the attacks recently. Optus, Medibank, a lot of them, us ourselves, have been attacked, right? And so it feels good to be able to know that you're making Australia a safer place. You're securing, your friends and family, etc. That's a really big part of it. We get a lot of, actually, we're finding that we're getting a lot of people that are coming to us and wanting that fulfillment, or they've got, I guess, that empathy towards helping people. That's probably one of the biggest things I see in people. I'm like, yep, they're going to be great for this industry. If you're, for instance, we help a lot of people, nurses, right? Or ex-ADF. There might be people who are, used to be on the actual physical battlefield, serving, protecting people of this country. They now can't for whatever reason. And they still have that inner urge to protect. And that's how they get their fulfillment. And they're now doing that on the digital battlefield as well. Those people, I'm like, yeah, they're going to absolutely.
Yeah, we do have like a lot of like people coming from the defense force, police as well. Also like, nurses coming from the medical industry. Like, I think that like morality that comes with like helping people, you know what I mean? Like it's, you're helping people in the physical form, whether it's, through the ADF or whatever it is, but being able to do the same through the digital, right? Like that sense of morality as well can give you fulfillment. That's why, we have a lot of people that are, I guess, in like jobs, right? As opposed to like career, where like, it's just simply, it's transactional, right? Like that's the difference between a job and a career. Like a job is a transactional, time for money, right? Like we're trading our most valuable resource, which is time, right? For dollars. Okay. Now that's, once again, it's a short-term game. Like, whereas a career, like, especially if you're getting that fulfillment from like genuinely helping people, right? Which, we are doing through providing the security through the cyber side of things. Like, once again, that's just where like it just creates that that desire to just keep growing and to keep progressing.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so obviously we tick those boxes. Someone has a conversation with you. You're like, you've got these qualities. Yes, cybersecurity can give you the career progression. You can work from home, can give you that fulfillment. You also qualify them and go, okay, I can tell that you're all in on this. You're a really good fit for us. We get a lot of those people, and then potentially the fear of change can hold them back from actually leaping into it and making their lives change, right? Like is it just purely that? Is it purely simply just that? Or what holds someone from making the decision to change careers and get into cybersecurity?
Yeah, I think there's a few things, right? Like I kind of touched on it in terms of like the comfort zone as well, because with any big change, there is a sense of discomfort that's required, right? Now, some people allow that discomfort to like rob them, right, of ever actually being able to make a change to put themselves in a better position, themselves or for the family. But like, back to the reasons that I guess necessarily hold people back, like just really being able to like lean into that fear itself. Like you're never going to go into something 100%, like that doesn't exist, right? You're never going to be able to make a decision that, 100% it's going to work for you. Now, all you can ever do is put yourself in the best position to achieve the result that you're looking for. Okay. Now, sometimes from what I've noticed is like people just really looking to like have the exact answer. Like I think if we could ever have the exact answer, like we would all be in the most perfect position, right? So it's just simply not the case. Like I had a really good discussion with a guy yesterday, and there was a lot of things that we were kind of uncovering through our conversations. Like that's one of the reasons why we have them, right? Is to see like where people are at and what has held people back previously. There's a lot of things that we were kind of uncovering through this conversation. Like this has been a lifelong kind of like pattern that was coming up, right? Of this sense of like waiting for motivation, like waiting for to make sure that he's 100% certain, and that sense of like just waiting for that to happen, you're never going to get it, right? And there's a reason why, you know, everyone's looking to start a diet on a Monday or start a diet in the new year is because, you know, you think that by putting the steps there, you're actually taking action, but like it doesn't happen until you just take the steps and get the motivation behind you and get the momentum. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing. It's people looking for all of the answers before it. Yeah.
Exactly right. Like looking for everything to line up perfectly. And then almost like it's nothing more frustrating for us because, you know, we all desperately need more people, more good people to get into the industry. We talk about it, you know, upwards of around 100,000 people that need to enter this industry very, very quickly. Otherwise, we're going to keep having these attacks. Okay. So it's a serious issue. And we see so many people that have really good fits and they might go, oh, I had a conversation with my friend's cousin's partner and they said you need to be a coding expert to get into cybersecurity, and so I'm not going to do it. And then you've just undone all of that, you know, the hard work that they've put in and the research they put in because they've found an excuse.
And that's the thing as well, right? Like hearing something from someone else, like everyone is their own individual, right? So like going off other people's kind of like perceptions of things, it can be helpful to give us a bit of an idea. But like if that one person, that one opinion is something that dictates like your decision in terms of like even taking the steps required to even like explore an industry, right? Like you're just never going to change. Like the perfect example that I like to use is like, you know, if you imagine like the industry of cybersecurity, which is very broad, there's a lot of different avenues in it, right? You can change, you can switch. So like if some pathway isn't working for you, you can always pivot and there's a lot of opportunity in it. But like if you're always just looking at it from an outsider's perspective, you can never get the inside's perspective. If you imagine if like the cybersecurity industry is a mansion, if you're standing on the outside and you're peeking through a keyhole, like if that's what you're drawing your conclusion is from that tiny, like, you know, 0.1% of what you perceive as the industry, and you're allowing that to hold you back, it's just, you know what I mean? You need to have the insider's perspective to be able to really grasp like whether the industry is right for you, but more importantly, like what aspect of the industry is best for you as well, right?
Yep, exactly. And listen to the experts, right? A lot of the time, and I want to reiterate here, and I think if you've listened to this podcast before and you've listened to all of the students that I've had on, 99% of them don't have an IT background. They don't have skill. They don't have experience in cyber or anything like that. They're complete career changers that have got the courage within themselves to go, I can learn this new skill. I'm interested in it. And then they, as you said, they commit to it wholeheartedly, and look what happens. They land a job.
Those are the people as well, like they don't necessarily know 100% of what they're getting into, right? But they know that like they want to put them in a position where they're able to get a better life. So they're willing to like take those steps and take that chance on themselves because they know that, you know, by doing something, it's going to put them in a position better than just staying in the same spot. And like, you know, you've had them on the podcast, they all come on and they're all like loving it. They're loving the change, right? Like it is very, very rare that we get people go through and, you know, they're in the mansion, they've got the different perspective and they go, oh, like this isn't for me, right? Because once again, it is so broad. There's so many different avenues in it.
That's actually a good thing I might actually look up now. The retention of all of the students that we place that are still in the industry, it would be in the high 90%.
Yeah,
like it would be, once you're in this industry, you're like, okay, there's so much opportunity. It might be a good statistic for us to look a little bit deeper into now with all the students that were placed. How many are still in the industry? It's going to be in the high 90s. If you don't get the other industries. Quickly, though, we're going to finish on some tips. We've already probably covered a lot of them already, but what would be your top 3 tips for somebody thinking about a career change into cybersecurity?
All right. So number 1 tip would, like, yes, do your research, right? Like listen to the podcast, like with a grain of salt from opinions from other people that have been in the industry. But like once you have a path, right, that can provide you with what you want, like take massive action on it. Okay. And what I mean by that is like, you know, if you're 95% certain that something is going to be providing you with what you're looking for, like that is a very high percentage. Right. And once you have that and you go, yep, this is a career path that I'm actually seriously looking at exploring here, taking massive action on it. That's a huge tip for me. The second one as well, like utilize the support network that you have. Right. So one of the biggest pieces of what we kind of provide and what do we do for our students, obviously, as we kind of speak about, is really supporting our students through that transition. It is a huge change once again. So really like leaning on the experts, like utilizing the opportunities, the networks that we have and that we provide for our students. It can be a bit uncomfortable as well, right? I mean, we work with a lot of, you know, career changers that might be, you know, somewhat isolated in their positions. So maybe like, you know, reaching out and actually like putting themselves out there can be a bit daunting. Okay. Now, that's normal. Once again, change is scary, but utilizing the support network of people that you have around you, that's the biggest one. Like everyone that's showing up, to all of their mentorship kind of sessions that we have, once again, they're the ones that do the best, and they're the ones that put themselves in the best position once actually landing in the industry. Okay. Now, tip 3, once in the industry, never stop learning, right? Like the easiest thing, like I think this is a Biggie Smalls quote, right? So those people that were born in 92 like I was, like treating every day like it's your first. So always being a sponge, like willing to grow, willing to learn, like especially now with how young the industry is really, right? Within Australia, like for those people that are sponges, that are soaking up, that are really like learning and taking the most out of the opportunities that have ahead of them, they're the ones that are going to progress the fastest. And effectively, in 5 years' time, they're going to be in those advanced positions that we speak of, right? Where they're going to have the responsibility, they're going to have the sense of fulfillment, the morality and everything that comes with a high position. Yes, money as well as a byproduct of that. But that's tip number 3 is just learn. Just do not stop learning. Do not stop growing.
Unbelievable. Thought you were going to bust out more money, more problems quote. Is that?
Again, it's a byproduct, right?
Exactly. Yeah, the one that stood out for me was your second one, talking about leading into the network, being a little bit uncomfortable. That's not just a Cyber Evolution network that our students get access to. We promote all of our students going to physical face-to-face events, online events, LinkedIn, reaching out to industry experts. The industry is so welcoming and will pick you up and help you as much as possible. Okay. Again, that's getting out of your comfort zone. Going to a cybersecurity event as career changer can be a bit daunting, but that's where you're going to grow the most. So really good tip would be an ASA event. Everyone can look this up. It's the Australian Information Security Association. Jump on, and they run lots of really amazing events, and you can go and meet people that can help you get into this industry. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day. And I think a lot of people will get a lot of value out of it. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, no, it's been a pleasure. Hopefully, hopefully some people can take away a few things from this and really, I guess help make them the best decision like that they can make, right? To put themselves in a position that they are actually achieving what they want in life and through a career.
I think so, mate. Really, really appreciate it. I'll let you get back to it. You got a busy day, busy week ahead of you. For everyone that is listening and it really, really enjoyed the podcast, took some value from it, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. And then if you want to know a little bit more about our placement program, you want to speak to Scott directly, can set that up as well. Just head to cyberevolution.com.au. You can leave your details there and someone from the team will be in touch. Thanks for listening, guys.